Okay, I'll unmute myself.
Let's go. Hello everyone. How's the audio? How's the cameras?
Hopefully everything's working.
Andrew is using an awesome camera and I'm using awesome audio.
Yeah, so if you want the good video, you need to come to my channel, which there's probably no link on either of our stuff for, and you want the good sound, because obviously we all sound better with the expensive audio system. Then
hopefully it works. So do let me know in the chat if the audio is okay. I know the video isn't great, I'm just using my phone.
And apologies for starting a little late. I think we were due to be on about 20 minutes ago now, but it's all right. We will still keep going for hopefully about 2 hours, right?
Yeah, hour and a half probably, I think.
Hour and a half to 2 hours.
Yeah. Which is good. Can we hear ourselves through your thing? Do you want to turn the volume down? Error, YouTube is not receiving enough video for a smooth stream. That's really reassuring.
Yeah, we don't want any more issues.
So many technical issues. How's yours? Yours is okay?
It looks okay. I'm going to go over and see. Well, let me go to the video, shall we? Because I was holding up the holding screen, and hopefully I'm just going to double check that the right screen comes through for the code. I'm just waiting for YouTube to update so I can see it. It's good to have these delays.
You know, but it wouldn't be normal without technical issues, I think. You know,
there we go,
always
yeah,
going to have technical
working.
issues.
So you can see the video in the corner, the video's working. I can see GitHub open, so that's good. Let's go full screen on the video.
Let me try mine, let me switch mine. I'm switching to my close-up camera. I'm switching to what you're seeing in my browser, which I'll probably put GitHub on maybe. Hopefully, it will change.
So let me I can drop a link to your YouTube, which I need to go grab because I haven't got it to hand.
And I can drop a link to yours.
So if anyone does want to jump between videos, they can.
Yeah, let's do that. So, if I switch here, hey everyone, sorry for starting late, technical issues. I'm writing in chat, okay. I should have great audio, Andrew will have great video.
Well, this way you should, but I do. Are you concerned about the laptop again?
Yeah, my processor's at 100%. Okay, so
I'm going to copy a link for your channel. You've got the nice channels with the millions of followers that you have.
Just past 5,000 I think yesterday, so that's great.
It's good. You've gone from 4K to 5K in what, 3-4 days?
Yeah, so pretty good.
Quite the jump.
Oh, your channel isn't easy though.
No, you've got to go hump mine out a little bit.
Okay. Oh, it's going to kill my laptop. I'll find it. And I have audio coming out of my laptop. I don't understand why. Something is playing something.
If you would like to check out.
It's probably coming out of
channel.
Oh, it's muted.
It is with me.
Don't know where it's coming from. Interesting. Okay, technical issues. Andrew Conliffe is live. Okay, so let me grab that link.
Yeah, and I've dropped a link in for you as well.
Thank you.
So, if anyone would like to check out Eddie's channel versus my channel, we are both live. Hello, welcome.
I'm live-ish.
We are a little bit behind. We're going to spend the next hour and a half, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less, but hour and a half looking through GitHub. We're going to check out a few projects. We're actually going to start with one of my own projects, so a little bit scary because I know I've literally just open sourced it and it wasn't open source before. It was closed source, so there's lots of...
I had to push you to open source.
You did give me a good nudge over the edge. So I've been working on this project called Venturous, my own little e-commerce platform. I've just open sourced 2 projects on there. There's the public website, and there's also something that I started a few months ago, which I'm calling Bedrock. It's basically a UI framework built in Angular, a bit like Angular Material for any Angular people out there that use Material, just to use my own components that I use to build the site with. And I'll be rebuilding actually my admin once I've completed this work because it's going to have some extra features that I didn't have before. So yeah, that's we're going to have a look at it, but at the moment it wasn't geared towards open source, so Eddie is going to slate it as much as he can and tell me all the things that I should be doing now that I've just open sourced it, some of which I'm already perfectly aware of. It's just, it's only gone live today, so
so it's good learning curve for all of us.
Cool. So without further ado, I'm going to jump over. I don't know if you've got your screen sharing to
I
see?
am, but I'm just worrying how jumpy my video is, and my computer is like 100% processor. I do not understand. And I have audio coming out my computer, and I can't understand where it's coming from. So I think maybe there's a video or something playing in the background. Let me just have a quick listen. If Andrew just takes the mic for the moment and does some talking.
I am muted, so it's not me, so it must be something of yours coming through.
Oh, Spectra, hey, thanks for joining. He's saying the video quality is potato. I'm guessing that's shit.
If you want, you can go and check out my channel that Eddie's just linked to. I'm going to steal everyone that's looking at Eddie's channel because his video is not working. But hopefully over on mine the video is okay, but I don't have the awesome mic that Eddie's plugged in because he won't share everything. I've stolen his camera.
I gave him the big camera. He can't have the mic too.
Yeah, but why did you give me the camera? Anyway.
The video quality is terrible on mine. It's really jumpy.
Yeah, this is coming off your phone now. It's not even. Well, actually, is your phone set on 4K as well?
Yeah.
Could that be a bit of a problem?
Maybe. I don't want to start again because
No,
it's so jumpy. Is it really that bad? It does look quite a bit of a lag. Yeah. See, on my screen it looks good, but actually what I'm sending to YouTube looks quite poor. So on here
It's obviously
fine.
struggling to do the compression and sending it up.
I think so. Yeah, it really is struggling. That's not good. And I can't change it midstream, I don't think. Yeah, I don't think so. So let's. Yeah, I'm sending it 1920 by 1080. That's HD, right? So it's not too bad. I might be recording it as well. Shit. Do you know where that's sitting?
No, you would have to be. You might have to. Yeah.
Or it's meant to record when streaming. No, I'm not recording. Okay. So it's just my computer is dying. Basically, I need to get a new computer.
Okay. Well, you'll have to send people to me if they want the video.
So Spectra says I'm on both. Okay, that's awesome. Thanks for supporting both channels. Really appreciate that. And Wozek says the video is so laggy. Should have gotten the Windows laptop. God, don't say that. I need the new laptop like Andrew.
Yeah, but how old is that laptop now?
About 5 years.
At least 5 years.
Wozek is asking what your channel is.
You shared the link earlier, right?
I did, but
it might not be in the chat.
Spectra is sharing it again, so I'm going to allow that to go through.
Cool.
Everyone's going to go to Andrew's channel, but I've got the good audio. Good audio.
Yeah, but that's only if it's uploading all right. It could be all choppy still when it uploads.
Shit, it's so choppy. Let me.
Okay.
Let me think.
Once you go down to just sharing your screen, maybe it'll get better.
I don't know. That's a good point. Let me share my
Because at the moment
screen.
it's having to compress all that live video full screen, right?
Yeah. So let's have a look.
Let's drop down to. I'm going to jump over.
Okay.
Hopefully go to the right screen.
If I've jumped down now to just the screen. I don't know, is that better, anyone? Is that video better? The audio should be the same, but let me see. But you can talk about your project a bit more. I know they can't see it, but just talk about it if it's like a podcast.
I am just looking to see.
I will just adjust this slightly so people can see my screen. Where's Safari?
Okay, cool. So the screen is showing through now. So I'll talk about my project a bit more, but I know you want to get on here. So I've got my own project. We're going to start with this. Ideally, we want to look at everyone else's projects. So please share in the chat your own projects. We'll take a look at your own GitHub, hopefully GitHub projects. But we're willing to look at others, I'm sure.
No, GitHub only.
Depends how much you share out to other people. But anyway, we're going to start with one of my own projects. It's an e-commerce platform that I started building about 2 years ago, but it's been private up until today. So I've started to actually release some of it out, but it wasn't built from an open source perspective, I'm afraid. But it's a good example of things we can do to improve on someone that's just, taken the jump. I have other projects that are open source and they're all set up better, but this one for an organization called Vendra, I've just open sourced 2 projects. There's a website and there's something called Bedrock. Bedrock effectively is a component library for Angular. So it's all for front end and it offers up a few things like standard inputs, image drag and drop to drag and drop images into a form, pagination, etc., etc. The standard kind of components you might use to build a website. Now, I am sort of halting and waiting for Eddie before I actually go into the project.
Anton says it's really bad as well. Okay, I want to stop my stream and I'm going to just change the settings. Okay. Let's see how it goes.
I'll keep on going. So I'm going to go into the project. We're going to look at Bedrock. So Bedrock is the project that I open sourced today. Not been worked on for a little while, but if you want to take a look, you can obviously see Vendra Bedrock. It has just gone live today. There is source files, but the main thing to look at here is that the README itself, very empty right now, doesn't show you a great deal about what's going on. What I could probably do, I should have probably started the project up locally so you can see what the website is. Would have been helpful. So let me open up the actual project. This is where it's going to go crazy. Well, I can start the project locally. Okay, so in a moment we'll see that that boot up, and you can see what the actual website is. And so one of the things that the README doesn't show you is what is this thing. Nice thing to put in a README is a couple of screenshots. So what I'll do is I'll quickly take the project and I will just update it and add a couple of screenshots so everyone can see how do you make an open source contribution. If you've been watching previous channels, you've probably seen a bit of this. But on the screen now you should see the website, the documentation that goes with it. So this is what I've been working on fairly heavily in preparation to actually open source it. And there are a number of components that you can see listed down here. So for example, there's an image upload component. It explains how you can use it, etc., etc. The documentation itself is reasonably good, and for anyone that's worked with Angular, they might recognize a couple of things, but if you haven't, don't worry, I'm not going to go and talk about that. But I can grab some images. So for example, today's stream image, pop that in, and there's an image input for you that effectively is using Canvas to do that work. So what I'm going to do to enrich the open source projects, I'm going to take a couple of quick screenshots. I will take one which is just of this homepage, and we'll grab one of let's say just a standard input field. What does an input field look like? There will be more added to the project with probably some better example pages that can be taken screenshots of, but we'll just start with a couple of pages that we can use.
Okay, we're back, and hopefully it's less choppy. Bit better. Okay.
Cool.
Hopefully usable as well.
I noticed there's a bit of a delay on my screen because it's literally
delay.
it's quite a way behind. So if anyone is sending messages, it's going to be probably 30 seconds before I see them ping up because it is a bit behind. But now that I've created some screenshots, I can just straight in line here edit this, or I can go over to the project and I can add them to projects. Now one thing with images which is quite interesting with GitHub is you can cheat a little bit. Rather than me having to upload an asset into the project, what I can do is if you go to an issue and create a new issue, which this one's missing issues because it's all been done privately and not the best of practices being used, but you can grab an image and we can upload an image into here. So I'm just going to grab the screenshot that I've just taken, which is just here. And once it uploads into GitHub, it will provide me a link I can use elsewhere. There it is. So I can cut that out, and I can go back.
Let me bring up what you're doing so people can see also. So.
Well, you can't show everything I'm doing because I'm typing on here.
What?
You can show. You can do the same thing perhaps with another image.
Oh, okay, got you. Yeah.
So yeah, once I've got that, I can show. This is an example of.
This is Andrew's project.
I'll just say docs, documentation. There's no web link yet, so I haven't yet deployed the documentation.
You've got to share a link in your chat to the project, Venza Bedrock.
Yeah,
Venza
okay.
Bedrock.
Let me.
So this is,
Yeah.
so if we explain a bit about this, just to repeat, I might have missed it as I was focusing in my
Okay, go on.
technical issues, but this is to do with kind of like material design of Bootstrap, is that correct? So
Yeah.
it gives you like a kickstart on doing your project, like the components. So you have form fields, tables, pagination, those sorts of things. But it's an open source project, and
hopefully I've just typed the link correctly, so that should be the link to the repository as requested.
and I'm bringing it up now. Here we go. Bedrock. It's in TypeScript, which is freaking awesome.
So as I was saying, on my screen it's different, but on my screen I've just gone to a little edit screen here. We can edit the content of the README file, and in the README file I've just pasted in that link that GitHub gave me when I was creating the issue and put an image in there. And so if I was to go and view that, then you can see there's the image that is uploaded into GitHub. So GitHub is hosting that image in my documentation. Saves me from adding assets into the project. I'll leave it at that for now. I'm not going to do anything too crazy with the commits. The only thing is that whenever I do a commit, I have a certain format following what's called conventional changelog. It's quite useful if you want to show changelogs for your work and publicize changelogs. So every commit, if you were to look at my commit history, follows the same format. So it might be a feature. In this case, it's a chore. I will call this. I will call it README. README. And the chore was add a screenshot of the documentation site. Okay, and GitHub is reminding me that it's good to try and keep things short. It's a couple of characters over. It's not going to be a real problem, and I can commit that against myself straight onto the master branch because I own the project. And I can say commit.
I was going to review it.
I could have done a review. You're right. We can do that on another project perhaps.
Okay.
One via your screen a little bit.
I don't know if my video has died.
You're really
Carl
suffering.
is here. You're still awake, Carl? It's like, isn't it like 6 o'clock? No, 6:30 was 1:30 your time. So it must be like past 2 a.m. But hopefully my video is still working because it's kind of spinning on my screen. So hopefully it is.
I'm a little worried that I'm showing the wrong screen all of a sudden. It says my screen's frozen as well.
What
Gone to the
microphone are
holdings
you using?
page.
It sounds like you're right behind
Sorry,
me.
Wozek, I don't know if you can hear me, but I can see what you mean. I'm just looking at the video feed myself. I will go to the holding screen on here and let me take a look, see what's going on.
I just want to say thank you, Roger. You have made my evening. I have some serious technical issues here, but you said my mic is really good, and I'm so happy. That's really good. So I carried all this kit into London, and at least part of it is working. I can even show you on the screen. This is the mic. You can kind of see it here. It's got these like.
Says we're still streaming.
doing this. But is my video still working, by the way? Because I think I don't know. It seems dead on my screen. I don't know if it's still working. 2 a.m. It's working. Thank you, Wozek. That's awesome.
Okay. You can hear us. Okay, good. So the sound's working. That's Wozek. But I'm not sure why the video has frozen. It's gone basically to the holding screen.
But so was mine. I think that happens, but it's still working. Because if you close that and come back, it will work.
Yeah, well, but it's not just me that's seeing this.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. Well, if mine's still working, let me see if I can refresh this page. I'm actually I can do a contribution.
You can do a
to your
bit while
project.
you're on there, yeah.
Let's so if you can see Andrew's project, Venture Bedrock. I'm hoping you can all see that. Let me know what you think as an open source project. What contributions would you make? So as an open source project, what do you think is missing, as in to be inclusive, to lower the barrier to entry, to let people know, how can I say it, to show them that it's easy to contribute. Let's see what contribution can we make. So my first impression when I look at the project is README. It's got a README, which is great, but it's a bit small. So I would say, it's got the installation.
I think the video's back on here. Sorry.
It's okay.
Carry on.
It's got an installation in README. However, I don't know, some screenshots would be good. Is this hosted anywhere yet?
No, the documentation's not yet hosted. I need to sort that out. So, project's just been pushed to being public.
That's very
At the moment, the only way you'd see it is to run the project locally. But I will. Well, if you look on the README, you should be able to see a screenshot of the website and documentation website. I do believe.
Oh no, it's just
committed
come
it.
through. Yeah, it just came through.
Yeah, I just committed it a minute ago, so you should be able to see that. So that is what the documentation site looks like.
Okay.
And with any luck, let's say in the next day or two, I'll have that up on the internet so people can actually take a look around at the documentation that's there.
Okay. Well, let's. I'm going to raise an issue. You've got no issues. Let's raise an issue for Andrew. And if anyone's watching, you get open source contribution for raising an issue. Obviously, don't raise loads of rubbish, but if you see a suggestion, raise it, or a defect, or anything like that. So my suggestion is link to demo site. Let's just raise it. I've got a contribution for today. I don't think I've done any other work today, so that's pretty good.
But it's not just linking though. I need to actually deploy the demo. Well, it's not a demo site; it's the documentation site.
Oh yeah, demo site documentation, but exactly. And
thanks, Wozek, for confirming the video's working, but I'm not seeing it on my own screen, so hopefully it's not frozen yet again. It's fantastic, this.
Anton agrees, images or demo. I agree, both. I think not or, and like you said, definitely and. Skills maybe. So was it when you say skills? what sort of research skills is in what skills are needed? Maybe what are dependencies? What dependencies does your project have? Do you have to install anything else in addition to it?
There are some things in the documentation that talk about that. So yes, there are things that are in the main documentation site.
Okay. What else? You've got to add some CI. You've got to build it.
Yeah, the
deploy
CI
it?
will come with
Okay.
the deployment. Yeah, so the CI will build it, deploy it.
What else have we got? Contributions
Contributors.
file. Contributors
Yeah,
file.
license as well.
License. Oh yes.
So license and contributors
So
need to be added.
Let me go to choose. What license do you want? Choose a license.
It'll probably be MIT, I think.
MIT is pretty good.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is just for anyone to use. I might use it on my own projects, but there's nothing that I'm at all precious about here. So, more than happy for everyone to make use of it, take just parts of it, reuse the code that's in there. I'd hope that when it comes to the code point of view, there's some interesting stuff to learn about Angular in there for anyone that wants to see how to build components that have a few complex things going on. I won't explain what all of them are, but it listens to mouse events, for example, for the drag and drop and so forth. Again, I have the site running on my own machine, so I can quickly open it up and you can see some of the features that are going on. So there are alerts in there, there's cards for displaying cards and cards that have links on, so you can click a link, which again, there's more demonstrations on this actual documentation. Checkboxes for ticking, sort of binary off and on. There are a few other things that I actually have work in progress on my computer that I need to deploy out, but yeah, buttons, all the standard stuff that you would see on any other front-end framework really, but just trying to build this out based on the stuff that I use myself, and then if there are other things to add, I'm more than happy to add other features as well. But there's other things such as tables, etc., that are coming down the line very soon.
So I've just added an issue add license, and then I went to the choose a license website. I went to the MIT license and copied the details, and then now I've created a file, and I'm creating a pull request. So if you see any suggestions, do raise the issue and do just raise the pull request. If it's merged or not, it still counts as a contribution. So now if I say closes issue number 2, so therefore MIT, not MIT, MIT,
Yeah.
license added. And then I can raise a pull request for Andrew, and then he'll hopefully accept it, and then it'll automatically close the issue as well.
So in a moment on my screen, I'll see the pull request come in.
And then, so let's just go back to the chat.
Okay.
Yeah, Wozek says, what skills are needed? I'm guessing HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Wozek, raise an issue. Raise that for an issue, definitely do that. And sometimes the docs and guidelines are not clear enough. Makes sense? And Anton says, I'm always more inclined to use projects that have a test coverage badge and a changelog. Oh yeah, changelog. Let's have a quick peek and see if Andrew's commits are using conventional changelog, where you can generate a changelog from that. Yeah, he is. So he's got chore, readme, added screenshot, and he's got feat, which is for feature, so not feet, double E.
I can open that up on my screen whilst Eddie's talking about it.
Sorry,
so
yes.
let me do
We need to get
that.
a
I
bit
was
better
doing a
to
pull
that.
request review quickly for you, but there are a few comments. Well, I've got one
Few
comment to
comments?
make. It's just a
Copy and
license you've put
paste.
in there. It's not much, but
Okay, no,
I have comments for you. So yeah, so if I just look at the commits as Eddie's saying on his screen, I'll let you continue talking.
Yeah, so we've got chore, we've got features, you can get defect, you can get, what else you can get? You can get some other things, and then what you do in
Chore,
the
feature, and defect are probably the main
ones, yeah.
but-
And then in the bracket where you've got readme, button, setup, they're your defined modules. So the first part is defined by conventional changelog, and it will group the changelog accordingly to what those names are. So you get a list of bugs, a list of features, a list of chores, etc. And in the bracket, it will group them on your defined one. So don't keep adding to these. These are kind of like your modules. And then after that, you write your message, and usually you put the issue number. But Andrew hasn't.
Because
and
I've not been
forgot to
creating
do that.
issues. I've not been creating issues for this project. That's why.
Oh,
So going
see.
forward, I will be starting to create issues, and that side of things will also hook in.
Is that your comment on my PR?
I haven't yet commented on your PR, but if I go back, I've noticed on the PR, which if you want to open it
I'm
up,
opening up the PR now.
on line 3 you haven't put the year and name, so I'm just adding a comment to say
yes.
needs to have the year and name adding.
Yes,
So I will start a
that.
review for that, and I will, within GitHub there's an option that says finish your review, and you can hit request changes at the bottom. So I have one comment, I'm going to hit review with request changes.
Okay, let's go back
and
to that.
that will notify Eddie to say, please, can you set these values?
They've just come through.
I could actually have made a suggestion there as well. I should have done it as a suggestion.
That's
and then you
true.
could have accepted the suggestion.
Let's have a look. So, I was going to make a suggestion to my own PR, which doesn't make sense. So what I'm going to do is if I hit edit, edit, and then I'll change the year. We're 2019, right? 2019, and full name, I'm guessing is going to be Vendra, is what Andrew will want. I can't ask him because he just popped out, probably for another beer. We're in WeWork London, and you can probably hear people playing pool, playing table tennis and foosball, screaming in the background. I don't know, I've got my headphones on. Nothing's actually coming out, I think, so that's kind of stupid. So hopefully you can see my screen, just making a change, added that in, to commit the changes. I didn't use the structure that we're talking about. So really what I would do is say, defect, and then it would be to the license. It's because license doesn't belong to a module, so some people might, depending on the project, might put admin. So it really depends on what you do. I'll probably put admin, or docs might be another one. Although docs does have its own docs. It's not a docs license. Andrew can change this later on. And then it was number 2, and then I'm going to write added year and owner. And then we'll commit it to my patch, so we don't create another pull request, we add it to my existing pull request. And then Andrew's comment will now get marked as, it should be marked as out of date, and if not, we can just say resolve. We'll just say out of date at the top there, mark it as resolve, and Andrew then can review it again. So hopefully that kind of flow, you saw my side of the flow, and we can get Andrew to raise a PR, and we can review it, and we can then see the other side of the flow. How's the, let me switch the camera back to this one, and then you can kind of see the room we're in, and while we're waiting for Andrew to get a bit of an idea. So does anyone have any questions on open source? I'm looking at the wrong camera, this camera. Hopefully that screaming isn't too loud. And if I put my headphones into this microphone, I can hear how bad it is or how good it is. Let me just do that.
You're not still playing with the tech, are you?
No, all is good, all is good. I was just explaining where we were,
cool.
In that the noise in the background, people playing.
Yeah. So I could move Eddie's camera around, but outside we have people playing table tennis, pool, football, table football. There's beer taps. I've got beer on the table as well. Eddie's on his Lucasade.
It's my energy. So you saw my side, so I saw your comment.
Cool, so you've gone in there, and if I was to now go and refresh my page, well, in fact, normally it notifies you there's a change, but okay.
Sometimes it loses the connection, especially in these offices, the internet isn't so great.
If I reload the page, I can see that it's now marked as outdated, to tell me that this has been altered and resolved effectively. I can see in here a comment there to say that he's addressed putting the name and year in. So if I go back to the conversation, I can take a look, see if there's any other comments. I'm happy with that. There's no other mentions, so I can go back, approve those changes, and once it's approved, either Eddie or myself can go in and merge this. Now, when I merge a branch into the main, I don't use the merge option. I use the squash and merge option. This will compress the commits in. So if there were 20 commits in there, the history will keep a lot shorter by choosing the squash and merge. The downside to that is that Eddie would have got 2 contributions if I was to keep the history, but by squashing the history, he will only get 1 contribution. So there is a downside which does affect your statistics by doing that, but personally I'd rather keep the project clean than worry too much about the contributions. I have enough contributions anyway. Eddie's got more than me as well, so the more I can reduce his, even better.
Yeah.
So
that's a bit mean. Let me have a look. My contributions.
Yeah.
So while Andrew's review.
So I squash and merge. I want to make sure that in the commits it maintains the The message, actually, I'm going to alter that slightly. Eddie's called it docs. I'm going to call it chore for now.
It's not a chore. It's a dart. Or it's
It's touch and go. Docs, I would more put as being proper documentation. This is a license. It's not quite documentation. It's fine line. I get that.
It is difficult.
But I'm going to call it a chore.
And if you look at my my GitHub, you can see I'm not that active. Only 1,600 contributions. Getting better than at the moment. With some really busy days, like 29 contributions. So we are slowly getting better. So what next? Anyone got any open source projects that you want us to review and contribute? If not, we can continue with Andrew's. There's loads of stuff we can improve on it.
Thanks. Well, I thought we could all just have a look around at some general projects, maybe some that are in a better state because they've been doing it for a while. I think, there's
been some links now.
Oh, okay,
as well.
we've got getting some links through. Okay, cool.
So we've got Raoul. You didn't review my repo. Send a link through.
Yeah, what's the link?
Did I miss the link? And then we've got IRNZ. I can't pronounce it. I'm really sorry, but we've got his link. So Andrew, how am I going to get that to you? I'm not opening.
Read it out to me.
No, it's a hard link. I can read it out. So it's github.com, all in capitals, L. I'm guessing it's an I.
That is
or
this one, LINZ.
Yes, that's the
React
one.
D3.
Yes,
GG
that's the
plot.
one.
We've been to this one before.
Okay, let's review it.
It's still in my history, so we can take another look, see how things have developed. Perhaps.
Yeah, he did say in the chat.
Made some improvements since the last time.
Where is it? Yeah, made some improvements since the last time. Exactly. Lorenzo. Okay, thank you, Lorenzo. Raoul, we'll get to yours afterwards. So let's have a look.
So when was the last time we did a stream on this? It was about 3, maybe 4 weeks ago. Now it's been a little while since we've done an open source code review session.
Before we move on, Andrew merged my PR and then automatically closed the issues you can see.
Oh yes, I can show that.
Let's close that. I can use that link.
So because Eddie had referenced the issue within the PR, GitHub picked that up, closed the issue when I accepted it.
Why can't I copy that? Copy link. It's not copying it very well. 1 second.
Okay, some images in there. Data.
Let me get to what you're doing.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'm just looking down the README. Current documentation with a link. Official documentation. Okay, I'll assume current documentation official is going to be slightly different, but let me go and take a look at what current documentation
So I've got to start. Oh, it says used by. This is new on GitHub. Have you seen this? What's this? Used by 5 repositories. Oh, that's pretty cool.
Where are you seeing that one?
Did you not see that?
At the top. Oh,
that wasn't here yesterday.
That is very new, yeah.
That's really cool.
That's quite neat.
But I guess
but if you click on the 5, you can see who those are, can you? Okay, so it's used by Lorenzo himself, right? So you've got stock market stuff.
That's pretty cool.
And you've got a whole dependency chart as well, so it gives you all the dependencies that are being used. Nice little feature from GitHub. It's good to see them adding new stuff. There seems to be quite a few new things coming out. Dare I say it, since Microsoft took over, it feels like there's more new features coming out.
True.
My concern is, are there going to be too many things that it becomes more like, dare say the word Jira in the future? Because the more they push out and the more they try to expand it, I worry that it becomes bloated.
True.
The one thing I love about GitHub is it just gives you what you need.
True, but if it's features that are good for developers, I think it'll always be good. Problem with Jira is it's features for managers to micromanage developers. So,
but good to see a new feature. So anyway, I was having a look. So there was a link to current documentation down here. So open that up. That just takes you through to the npm pages, which is fine. I mean, that will be the same README. Generally, I'd say the same README, but this is slightly different. So he's obviously configured this slightly differently. I'm just checking the project's the same project, yeah. So typically when you deploy to npm, the README that gets picked up is the README that you've got. In fact, the demos here, the links are all broken on the npm
Where are you
page.
looking?
So when at the bottom, current documentation there, yeah.
Okay.
So when I open that up, typically you will see the exact same thing, which maybe it is. I was expecting to see the images.
Oh,
I can see
demos.
getting started and so
But this
forth.
pulls it out of the README, doesn't it?
It should be pulling it out of the README, so something's not set up right
Although
there.
it doesn't look the same, is it? Because it's got. Did I see this? The main component. Was that correct?
Yeah, there's something not quite right there with what NPM's doing. So you might want to take a look at that, Lorenzo. I'm not going to spend too long dwelling on exactly how that's happening, but there is something not right with the images on the NPM.
That's actually true. It's master on GitHub as a default branch, and then on it should be reading.
Depends where you publish from, because if you're using package R, for example,
Okay.
you might run it from your local machine or a CI. It might be that on the local machines there's a different version running to what's on the CI or what's on the README, but normally it's your README that for the project and for whatever you push up that is what NPM will pick up.
And
so
the other thing I noticed is Lorenzo's GitHub user account. Oh, there's more contributions than me. 1,800. I'm on 1,600 or ish, give or take.
we're squashing stuff these days, so.
But I was just going to say that Lorenzo has a GitHub profile picture, which is really important, really, really important. However, on NPM, it says collaborators, and it does say Lorenzo, 13 is his username, which I think is correct. Oh no, it's different username, but it has no image, which I think doesn't look so professional. So there's something, it's not tied up with the images, maybe with the user profile. So do have a look into that.
But the versioning's good. I mean, if I look on NPM still, you can see the version history. It's all 7 versioned. Lots of activity going on. I mean, there was a little bit of a gap there 3 months ago to 8 days ago. I still haven't actually pushed my own stuff up to NPM yet, so I need to get on to getting up the Semver stuff.
The versions look good.
But there's no problem with a few gaps. I mean, we all have lives to live and things we get busy with. But you've been very busy the last week, so I can see where you're excited to share with us what you've been up to. GPL3 for the license, yeah. So.
Yeah, got a license, which is good. Other thing I was going to say, Lorenzo is saying that's the old docs. So some things needs updating somewhere then.
Okay.
So you've got Travis, awesome. I can't remember what state we were at last time. So what's some of the new, Lorenzo, let us know what some of the new stuff is.
Well, we take a look at the commits, I suppose. We could compare, because if it was, it would have been the stuff that was marked as 3 months ago, right? Well, actually, there's lots of other activities. There is more stuff. That's just the releases. So there's been a lot more work going on, just less frequent on the releases, perhaps.
But, it's got install information, it's got examples, it's got documentation, in progress, official documentation, contributor as an experienced developer. I wouldn't say contributing as an experienced developer, because you're alienating people who maybe are experienced but don't think they are, especially with like imposter syndrome. So I would say just contributing, and someone might not be a developer, but they might be able to contribute in terms of documentation and all the rest.
Yeah, I wouldn't separate people like that, but what I would suggest is putting a label against issues. So if you're raising issues, perhaps highlight issues to say this would be good for someone that's new to the project. So appropriate for a new contributor. I think GitHub even actually has default ones for new contributors. Is that right? I know a lot of projects.
Yes,
if you're raising
they do.
issues, they will say good for a new contributor.
Yeah.
It's a nice, easy thing to get started on, understand the project, and something that won't be too cumbersome, I guess. So don't try to segregate, as Eddie says, people between being good and bad, or beginner or expert, whilst generally people will know themselves where they feel to be. But certainly make use of labels against issues. So if you're raising issues, label them to say this is one that's appropriate for someone that's new.
Yeah, and I'm gonna raise an issue actually. Hopefully everyone can see my screen. I'm actually going to raise an issue and say add link to the top of the repo. I think you get a lot of benefit just having the demo link right at the top. Not demo link, sorry, documentation link. Add documentation link to top of the repo. So next to the description. This is next to the description. Again, just want to make it easier to lower the barrier to entry for people as much as possible. I can't make that as a contribution because that's a repo setting.
The other interesting one is I look at your issues, and you might want to open a couple yourself on the issues. The top one, the first one,
38.
So the 38 at the top there has some description content, tells you a little bit about what you're perhaps looking to achieve and why you want to do it. So that's good. I mean, there may be a bit more data you can add. But what I was going to say is I'm not seeing that on a couple of others as I go down the list. Okay, there's a one-liner in the next one. The one after that, add a legend. doesn't really explain how you want that legend to work. Do you want the legend to be at the top, configurable? If someone was to contribute to this, they're going to just have to make it up on the spot, or they might have to ask lots of questions. So I think it's quite valuable in issues, even if it's just 1 or 2 bullet points just to explain these are the sorts of things you're thinking about, because add a legend can mean a lot of things to a lot of people. But yeah, is it going to sit to the side? Is it going to sit at the top? How do you want to do the colours? If you've got something in mind, mention it, or if you want suggestions, just ask. Open to suggestions. Please let me know what you're thinking, how this could work.
Yeah. Sounds good. The other thing, I don't like the underscore development underscore, and then the commits in there are changes here are not important. I don't see what's that needed for. If
it doesn't add value, I wouldn't share it up on the project. Yeah. If it adds value, fair enough. But
I think
it's not clear to us, I suppose, looking at this, what the value is.
Yeah. And the other thing I was going to say, in the source folder, I don't know what your thoughts are, Andrew. Some folders are underscore, some folders are lowercase, some folders are uppercase, some folders are all uppercase.
It's good to have convention, don't get me wrong. At the end of the day, there are standards and everyone has different standards. Being consistent is far more important. So if these are standards that you're happy with and you're consistent in how you use them, fair enough. I mean, hooks, it could be, are they GitHub hooks? I've not looked into them. Again, underscore tests, underscore when I go open up the hooks folder. But be consistent, yeah. So if you're going to uppercase things, why are you uppercasing them? Facets, geomes, ggplot. I mean, they are shouting out the page a bit at you. But yeah, just be consistent. Personally, for directories, I tend to keep them all lowercase, and for multiple words, I'll use a hyphen for a folder. But everyone has different standards, so I'm not going to get overly fussed over the standards that you're using personally. Be consistent. That's the one thing I say to developers. If you join a project and you're a new developer to someone else's project, look at the standards they're following. Don't try and introduce something new. Some places will have a coding standards document where it just highlights a few things to be aware of. So take a look at coding standards files. I'm trying to think of a project. I think Angular. A lot of the Google ones are like this. So if I look to Angular.
Just to answer a WASX question, we use SendGrid, don't we, on our projects.
For sending emails?
Yeah, it's been pretty good.
SendGrid has been pretty decent to us, yeah.
Has been good. So we mustn't spend too much conscious of the clock of the time. We shouldn't spend too much on this because we've got other repos. Yeah. And next stream.
Well, I was just going to jump over to Angular. So I was just mentioning with the standards things. I think this is quite important, and a lot of people get pull requests rejected. So I just opened up the Angular project. So if you go to GitHub Angular. They have a contributing markdown file on there.
Yeah, which is really important.
And inside of that, they list a whole load of things, including, or they have things like signing their contributor license agreement, etc. But they have a coding rules file in there as well. It gives a couple of little hints as to what they're after when people write stuff and how they configure things. So if you want to maintain a particular standard, list some of the things that are most important to you. But if you do contribute to another project, try and just see how they form things. How do they manage variables within classes? So when it comes to sort of public, private modifiers, do they do things like underscoring them, prefixing them with something? Try and maintain that consistency, because whilst it might not be the standard that you like, it's a standard that they're adhering to, and it should be consistent within your project. Jumping around with different standards in different projects just becomes a nightmare for other people to help you on. But also, when you're helping other people, it can make them feel a little bit kind of under attack, I suppose you could say, by you trying to introduce or enforce something different on them.
Yeah.
So always be conscious that everyone works differently. But yeah, I don't mind too much as long as you're consistent. I'll stop there on my little rant, I suppose you could say.
No, it's good. I think it's good to share that information. You're right. When you're contributing to someone else's project, you want them to lower the barrier to enter as much as possible, and you want to be as frictionless as possible. And the way to make it frictionless as possible is if you're a project maintainer, you put enough information out there, but it's still concise, right? You don't want to have books of information out there, people won't read it. And when you're contributing to someone else's project, you want to do it to their standards. Yes, or by all means you can make suggestions, but to change their standards, but that's going to happen over time massively. So to begin with, just do it to their standards. If they're doing camel case, snake case, lowercase, uppercase,
Pascal,
hyphen,
all the rest of them.
whatever it
There's
is. Just
so many different ones.
absolutely. So shall we race on ahead now and maybe pick the next one? Just because there's a few other people who we didn't review
Who's
last
next?
time, and they're keen for us to have a look. So let's have a look. Who do we have next on the list? Let me scroll back up. So next we did Lorenzo, and then after that was Raul. So if I click on that, can I read this out? Is the question. That is a long one to read out. I can't talk. Mine's pretty long. Let's try. That's quite hard to read.
I can open up your channel here. I guess history will stay right.
Yeah, I think so. I think so.
I won't be able to keep an eye on any conversation that was on mine, but I can find it.
You come back and then you can get the conversation again. Okay, awesome. So bringing up the next open source project, and we will work through the list. Yes.
So which one have you gone for? Oh, right, just the next one, Rahul. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. So Abu Zir, yes, it's been too long. We were saying that at the beginning of the stream, that it has been too long since we've done the stream. But we want to try and get more regular. We went through a good phase of doing a few.
We did, and then events and work and all those other things in life.
I was away at conferences.
Holidays. Oh, you were away.
So I spoke at a Google Cloud event in Milan in Italy, and that was awesome. Met some really awesome people. So, but that took me away for like a long weekend, and then I was in Portugal and stuff. So we've got some more projects to review. We've got quite a few projects to review today. This is great.
I'm just having a quick look at some of the comments. Have we covered off some of these comments that have come through?
On my one or your one?
Oh, on yours, you've got various little queries come through.
Yeah, I think I've
you're being given advice on laptops to buy.
Yeah, Windows. But not this one. This is old. That one. And let's have a look. Cool. Abu Zir, we'll have a look. Hopefully I'm pronouncing your name right. We'll have a look at yours in a sec. We've got a few more above yours first.
Yeah. So, we'll get there. So looking at Rahul's then quickly. So
yeah, let's have a look.
So I've got a license. There's a README. So quickly over the README. I like the
logo.
I love the logo.
Yeah,
it's good to have a nice logo.
Did you draw that yourself, or did you? I guess someone else did. That's pretty cool. And it is appropriate as well, right? It actually means something straight away.
Yeah, you can see straight away it's to do with resizing stuff, and you've got a drag and drop handle there that makes something bigger and smaller.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
So, tells a lot of picture.
The only thing I would suggest, you've got documentation, which is great. The indentation's a little bit off in the code blocks, but the only other thing I would say is get code highlighting. So you can in the code tags you can put the
JavaScript and so forth.
Yeah.
So where you've got the backticks, you've got your 3 backticks. You do 3 backticks and JavaScript. It will format the content of that and highlight it accordingly.
I'm gonna raise an issue for it. Code block.
Small thing, just makes it easier to read.
Yeah,
I mean, at the end of the day, there's not that much code that is showing on there, so it's not a big deal, I wouldn't say. You can still read it quite well, but some projects they will put a big code snippet example on there, and that can become difficult to read. Something I actually need to sort out on mine. One of the reasons I haven't deployed the documentation, but I'm going to deploy the documentation and I'll enhance it later, so I'm going to get onto that. I'm just looking at, so there's inside there you've got a little GIF as well, giving you a bit of a demo as to what goes on.
GIF is very cool.
So you can see, how does it work?
I'll raise that issue. Actually, let me put what I've put here in a block underneath.
The only thing I'd say is looking at that demo, I thought I was clear on what this was doing when I looked at the logo, but the demo, the little GIF there, I'm not quite sure what it's doing. I have to read some of the content, I think. Library which allows you to run code, resize elements that you specify, supports I11, resize AMD module, okay, so require JS, etc. Require new existing projects. Find working demo as follows. Okay, so still not quite clear. I thought from the logo I was clear on what it does, but as I look at that GIF, I'm not quite sure now what it does. It's opening it up as you hit enter. It's getting bigger and smaller. I thought it was going to be something with drag handles that allow you to resize elements on a page.
Maybe that's what it's going to come to later on. Maybe I'm guessing it's still work in progress. There is a whip at the bottom, which is accept jQuery objects to have node and accept node listener. So adding more features and fulfill feature requests. So there's more still coming.
The dist folder there, you've deployed a dist folder. Just wondering, what's the difference between your dist folder and your lib folder? Normally, a library will have a lib folder that has what to use. So you've got your r.js there. I can view that raw file, 1.3 meg. That's quite big. So it's not minified. Is that the actual main code base? I'd have thought that should be your concatenated file in that lib. I'd expect that's the one that I should be using. So I'm just wondering what the difference between the dist build, which has the receptor core, which that is minified. So which one are you intending people to use, the dist folder or the lib folder? I normally expect it to be the lib folder bit.
I do have, I guess, I mean, there's some really good points by Andrew. Sorry to interrupt, Andrew. I was just going to notice that nothing's happened in 4 months. So is the project still on? Is the project still ongoing? It says at the bottom, work in progress, and these are the some features that are coming. So try and keep doing a little and often, right? Keep improving, little and often. Just keep improving. I think it's important just to keep that going. Otherwise,
we all suffer from gaps here and there.
Of course.
Right? I mean, you can't be 100%. You might have a couple of projects you're working. You'll focus on one for a few months, focus on another. But maybe in the README, I mean, maybe that's something I should take on board myself. Maybe in the README, you should have a little bit of a timeline somewhere, just showing I'm working on something else at the moment.
We've seen Dashboard Hub's timeline. It's not finished, but Chenga did an awesome proof of concept. But we'll come back to that after we review the repo. So we've written a like a timeline. It's kind of like a graphy timeline in code, in like kind of like Markdown, and it renders out to an image or an SVG or something else. But we'll talk about that later.
But it's good to know, you're right, about activity, because a project that's last contribution with 4 months old, it would make me a little wary. Do I want to use this on my own project? Because I tend to use stuff that I can see consistent commits going through, etc., etc. Not necessarily interested in big names, but I like to know, okay, it's been there for a couple of years. It's got, 2 stars, again, might wear me a little bit, but again, if it's a newish project, I wouldn't be overly fussed by that. I know, for example, like myself, I've been working on something for 6 months, only just made it open, so only now am I going to like to get any 1-starring it, etc. But yeah, 4 months, it's starting to get into that area, right?
It's true.
Yeah, I want to keep an eye, might be interested, I might star it myself, see what happens. If nothing happens for another couple of months, I probably would look elsewhere if I was after something like it.
You need to keep that activity, even if you are just improving documentation or are improving small things, they need to be huge features. Just to jump to the conversation, Angular 8 is out. Yes, it is. We were looking at that today.
We were thinking, should we swap the talk today? Rather than talk about this, we could talk about Angular. It was when I looked earlier, it was 22 hours, and that was 3 hours ago. So it's been probably 24 hours now since they released it.
26 hours, something like that. It's exciting times. It does look good.
Biggest thing is Ivy, right?
Yes.
The Ivy renderer. I'm definitely going to be tomorrow updating dependencies and giving the Ivy renderer a go.
You're going to give it a go.
Yeah, I was waiting. I was thinking, do I get the beta, try the RC out? I'm not going to put it into anything as such, but I'll check the dependencies. I'm just interested because there are big claims around the size of the files that get rendered. The tree shaking it can now do is much better. Big claims around the rebuild time. So as you're making code changes, it'll be a lot more responsive to pick up the code changes, etc. So yeah, that's probably the big thing is the Ivy renderer. There's a few other little features, but I don't say there's anything groundbreaking. It's just deprecating stuff, a couple of little improvements here and there. But yeah, that Ivy renderer. Been looking forward to that for a while. They keep talking about it. Angular 8.
Yeah, getting cool. Who needs React? We've got Angular. Oh, sorry, we were reviewing React.
I think Anton's still here, so let's upset him.
He loves. I've already upset him.
Yeah, so Ivy, it's not production ready as such. What was the issue? It's internationalization and.
It's not production ready yet.
Angular Universal, right? So it's production ready, but if you're using internationalization or server-side rendering like Angular Universal, it's not ready, it's not ready for those things.
Okay.
So they're saying by all means try it. You can use it in production if you want, but if you're using internationalization or server-side rendering, it's not ready. I think that's correct. Correct me if I'm wrong, absolutely, but that's my understanding.
Okay. Internationalization, is that like the translations and the time zones?
Yeah.
Yeah, but everybody speaks English. Everybody's in GMT. Who needs all those things? I'm just joking. Okay. Cough, cough. Anton's still here.
Yeah.
Damn it. Where's that block button?
We woke him up, so.
Yeah, we're just checking you were still awake. Okay, so let's go back to this. What else did we see? So I've raised an issue. Do you want to raise one?
Obviously, we could add a contributors list.
Contributors not list, contributors file. There is a license, MIT. Contributors file. You can do like issue templates as well if you wanted to. I don't know if that's really needed. Yeah. Do you want to look at what else can we do? I'm trying to think now.
Demo. I mean, there's a little demo. Get a code in there, which is quite nice. Again, would be nice to deploy that out to a website, whether that's a GitHub Pages site or something. Could be quite nice.
That's true. And you can put a link at the top.
Yeah, for anyone that's not aware, I can hop over to my project quickly on my screen. You can go to one of your own projects, I guess, but at the top of the page on GitHub, you get an edit button where you can add a description, but also a link to a website. A lot of people forget to put a link to a website. So again, back to previous project we were looking at for Lorenzo. I'm not sure you had this. You've got some documentation. It might be your NPM page, whatever. But just dropping a website there's quite nice. Just click up there. I mean, I often do that when I first open a project just to see what's going on, and I'll add that to mine once it's ready. But yeah, the dist build folder, the lib folder. Not sure if the dist folder is needed. It feels like that's a build folder that you wouldn't necessarily deploy. You might run for tests, but I might be wrong. So we don't have that much time to spend looking at it. Yeah. You guys having a party? I think they can hear all the guys outside. So yeah, no, we're in the WeWork office. We're on the games floor.
We are. We chose a loud floor for some reason. It was I think it was like 9
we always
floors.
do it.
We always choose a loud floor, but there's. Is it really noisy? Because I can't hear it so much in my headphones. But I'm guessing
a moment ago there was a lot of cheering out there.
Yeah,
I think someone just won at a game of pool or something. So.
Or table tennis, because the guys are getting quite excited about table tennis, and there's some ladies playing foosball, and maybe they're kicking ass. So hopefully it's not too overpowering, and you can hear us. Or I could do some. What's that? Where you talk into the mic and make some weird noises. That thing that everyone's going crazy over.
Talk to the mic and make weird noises. No.
I was going to say I can talk like really closely so you can hear me more than you can hear everybody else. Oh, it's got a thing. It's like Anton will know it because he's a bit weird. Yeah, Spectre saying we're having a party. Well, we're having a party over Angular 8 because it's much better than React. But yeah, there are people outside that are making a lot of noise. Anton, what's that weird thing? I want to say CQRS, but something else. Not cross-site scripting. I don't know, it's that weird thing that people go crazy on.
What about talking into a microphone, cross-site scripting? I'm not sure quite how you managed to
link
those two together.
It's like 4 letters. SMR, ASMR.
Okay, you're into gadget tech now.
No, that's that weird thing on Twitch. People there's booby streamers who like crush I don't know, paper or something, and people go crazy. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway,
trying to build your own sound effects.
Yeah. Yes. Exactly. But people find it relaxing. I'm not sure about that. Anyway.
Rahul, great for sharing the project. Keep it going. Probably the biggest thing for me would be a bit more clarity on what it is, because the logo, love the logo. Obviously, a lot of time has gone into thinking about it, but it becomes less clear as I scroll through the documentation. Actually, what is this? Because I thought I was clear from the logo. Likewise, as I look at the project, I'm not sure what that dist build one's about. The lib folder I'd expect to be what you're deploying out. But yeah, that as a short summary, they're probably the key things that I take away quickly from it. Documentation, might be nice to actually host up the demo site somewhere. Yeah. Should we move on to the next one?
Yeah, I'm just writing because apparently they can hear the background more on your audio than mine.
Oh, really?
So, yes, my audio is better. Are you using the camera audio or your audio?
I'm using the audio on the laptop,
okay.
I believe, for that. I could try and reduce the input a little bit.
Nah,
probably won't help.
It's fine, it would get quieter. My audio is better. Actually, that popped really loud in my ears.
Yeah, careful. You just now broken everyone's ears on the other end.
I've broken my mic. Okay, right. Next project.
What I should have done is I've got a Blue Yeti at home.
It was quite heavy.
It is quite heavy, but I should have just dragged that all the way with me, right? Just slap that on the table, get the proper mic in.
This is so better. No, I'm joking. The Yeti is good. I have it at home.
Yeah, but this thing's like, what, 600 quid or something silly.
Yeah, it's kind of like student money.
Okay, so
next one. What was the next one? That one was.
so we're going to go to UGGL. Yeah.
Yes, that's Carl's one.
Carl,
So we're going to have a look at that. Okay, cool. Let me just bring that up.
And it's
Remote Junior Developer Jobs Directory.
Jobs Directory, huh?
Yeah, I think I get a mention in there as well.
It's not the first time we've had Carl with us. He's been here a few times.
Which floor are we on? Wozek, we're on the first floor, the games floor.
First floor in Moorgate.
Yeah, we work Moorgate.
So if you're in the building, feel free to drop in.
Yeah, come and say hey, join us on the stream. You know, we're inclusive. Everyone's welcome. More the merrier.
Absolutely.
Oh, why did that not work? Did I copy the wrong one? What's going on there?
Right, I'll be back in 2 seconds while you find the page.
What's wrong with my computer? I don't know. Maybe the computer. Bring up the next repo. Right, okay. We have got... Andrew left the door open. It's going to be a lot louder now with everybody outside. So it's mostly... It's all HTML. Okay, cool. We have a README, we have an index file, we have a link. Okay, we'll wait for Andrew to come back, but it's looking good. Hey Spectra, thanks for the. You're the first person to give me. Is it called Super Chat? I enabled that like I don't know a few weeks ago, a week ago. It was after our previous streams. First person to do that. So thank you so much. That's awesome. I'm really really happy. So cool. You rock. And today I did apply for the GitHub are releasing this like kind of a Patreon on GitHub, so you can you can like I guess gift to your favorite open source contributors. And I've just applied for that. They're doing it as a beta, and only certain people are allowed. So I just applied for that. It's not because I think I'm going to get rich off it or anything like that. It's just for a bit of fun and just to see kind of how it works and how it compares. Carl is still awake. Cool. Okay, we're doing it. We're getting there. Let's not wait for Andrew. Let's just jump straight in. Okay, so remote junior developer jobs. We haven't reviewed this before. You've got 8 stars, which is great, and it's quite a new project actually. Let me think. So originally it started off 22nd of April. All your commits are verified, which is freaking awesome. It is. We didn't check on the other projects, but most of the time, most people don't verify their commits, and it's actually really important. On my Dashboard Hub, if I switch tabs, on my Dashboard Hub project, I'm keeping, mine are verified, but the other contributors aren't. I really would love to lock it down so only verified commits are allowed, but I think I'll alienate a lot of people, so I don't lock it down for that. But yeah, so the verified commits, that's awesome, that's great, it's a really good start, I'm really happy. And what else have we got? Company list. With no company list doesn't have. Oh, we'll come back to that. Let's look through the README and work our way down. Andrew's stream. People watching on Andrew's. He'll be back in a sec. So the whole point of this repo is to list information about getting a remote job as a junior developer. Brilliant. So you're going really, really niche. I think it's really important to go super, super niche. No, links is fine. You're collating all those links and saves people searching around. People can add to it. So I think that's really good. These type of repos do really well. There is another one that I know of that is a list of companies that hire remote people. So basically exactly what you've done, but a list of companies and a link to them. And it has something like, I don't know, 5,000 forks and like 20,000 stars. So yours is going to grow. Yours is going to be there. Give it a few weeks, a few months. It will be there. So data kind of repos like that are really useful. So we've got we work remotely, Slack Overflow jobs, it's all looking good. You've made it into sections, freelancing. You've got companies with remote DNA to do sorts. So I'm not sure why you've got the 4 hashes is the only thing. Hopefully you can see me highlighting that in the page. So yeah, you've got kind of 4 hashes beginning and end. I'm not sure that's meant to make it stand out more. You might want to think about doing it differently. Golden, silver and bronze companies, I'm not sure what they are. And then what's this list down the bottom here as well? So Agent Fire. I'm not sure what all these lists are. It's a really long list, and that's great. But I'm just not sure what that is. Oh, wow, so really long. So that's great.
Job directory, yeah. Oh wow, yeah.
But it's looking good. I think it's really good. Really good. I like. I was saying how the commits are verified. That's a really
certainly recognise if you know these are basically just job sites, right? This is all the different places you want to go for careers for different jobs.
And if you scroll down, there is a section called Great Resources, YouTubers, YouTube channels. I'm on there.
I was going to say you've got my name in there as well.
Andrew on there.
Thank you very much.
I want to send a PR deleting Andrew's. But.
Yeah, we'll just edit Eddie so it takes you to the wrong place. Yeah, redirect you to me.
No, that's awesome. And the other thing I would suggest is you've got great resources, and then you've got YouTubers. Oh, I guess great resources. You haven't put anything else in there yet. Okay, it looked like 2 headings, but it's because there's a gap in there.
I'll tell you what would be quite cool. Now you've got this list of all these different jobs. What would be great is to build a website that actually aggregates all the jobs across those to one place. Because one of the things that both of us hate are recruiters, right? We're not talking about recruiters right now.
We love recruiters.
Okay, yeah, a love-hate relationship.
Some
of them we love, some of them we hate.
Yes, there's none in the middle. You either love them, the ones who are good, and then you hate the other ones. But on that note,
trying to find an actually job site that uses the different job boards that all the different companies use. So you've got a big list of all these different job boards that companies use. Aggregating that into one place, that would be quite powerful, because all these people, they use different platforms, different everything. I mean, there's no common thing. We've talked about it a few times of actually trying to build our own, but trying to get the companies to sign up to that is impossible. Maybe you have to do it the opposite way around. You've created this list now. Could you aggregate that into a single site and build up something to say, looking for jobs? Here you go, get in direct, cut out the middleman as such.
Yeah, absolutely. Just on the note on recruiters and live streams, next Wednesday we are doing a live stream similar to the previous one we did a couple of weeks ago with 3 recruiters talking about how we can kind of build bridges between developers and recruiters, and we're actually going to review some job descriptions
and CVs.
Yeah, we got some CVs to review, anonymised.
In fact, if you've got your own CV, this is a good time to ask. So
yeah, that's true.
If you're interested in having us review your CV and you don't mind it being shared, please just send it over.
Remove your name. Remove anything.
Best way to get in contact with us through it.
Our emails.
They'll be on GitHub, right?
No, our emails are on YouTube as well.
On YouTube, yeah. So
in the About section.
Yeah, email it over to us, and we will share your CV and we will critique your CV, hopefully in a constructive manner, along with 3 recruiters that we actually think are good recruiters. They work for some good name companies.
But do remove any identifying information.
Yeah. Well, if you don't, we will take things like your name out of there.
We might miss it though. I'd rather they removed it.
Yeah, if you can remove anything that you don't want sharing.
Address, phone number. Email, just put dash or something in the placeholder.
Yeah, we already have a few CVs, we have a few job descriptions, and we're just going to talk about what we think makes a good CV, makes a good job description, how clear they are. For example, the number of job descriptions you see that list, we want someone with 50 different job skills. I mean, they're bad things, right? But anyway, that's not what we're talking about today. But join us, was it Tuesday next week, right?
Wednesday,
sorry.
The 5th. Don't listen to Andrew.
Don't listen to me. I need to check my calendar. But yeah, 5th next week, same sort of time.
And hopefully my stream won't be so shit.
You're going to buy a new laptop, right?
I'm waiting for the new one in September. Carl says the gold, silver and bronze, wondering what you think criteria companies offer for them to be like gold, silver and bronze.
Yeah, so companies with remote DNA to do list of gold, silver, bronze, depending on how remote, junior friendly these companies are. This is an interesting one. Can we mention? Yeah, why not? So
tell me, I'll cover the mic.
Right, the thing I was going to say is that you look at places that do open source, right? Yeah. And I'm going to use the comparison of Lloyd's and NatWest. Some places that we've done.
No
work
one we
with.
know about. Okay.
Yeah, some places we've done some work with. One of which are very, very big on saying, we do open source. We've got all this stuff going on, and you think about the sort of the big name banks, and you think, who does this stuff? And you'll hear one of them shouting very heavily about all the open source stuff they do and how they're following best practices. And Eddie said, I don't know how long you spent looking, but I think you spent a couple of hours one day trying to find actually what is it they've got that's open source, and you found nothing at all. They weren't really doing any hackathons, nothing, etc. And then for the other bank, in this instance, they don't talk about anything they do open source, yet
Or
they're
hackathons.
all the other hackathons they do.
They do
In fact,
it.
even to us, where we do work with them, but they're doing them. I mean, we finally managed to get them to actually share. And there's stuff in Manchester going on, stuff in Edinburgh going on. They've got loads of things going on, but they just don't shout about it.
Yeah, so they need to
really
get better
quiet.
at that.
Well, I said the quality of the people they're getting is, they're probably getting reasonable quality, but they're missing out on a big opportunity for people that are keen to get involved in these things. Anyway, just interesting. And the same probably goes for this, right? So you're looking at people saying, how remote and junior friendly are they? They might shout about this stuff.
But are they?
I could even use examples of places I've worked for recently that shout about this stuff, saying they do it all. But when you're actually working for them, they're all about, but we want you guys to be in on a Wednesday, on a Thursday. Hang on, this isn't remote anymore. You want us to be in on these days. It's almost like reverse psychology they use once you're in there.
They do, yeah.
So until you've actually been inside that company, it makes it very difficult to try and rate them into these different buckets.
That's
The
why I
best
think
thing you can do is try and connect with people that work there,
or who have worked there previously,
and get them to try and rate it back. But then, this becomes quite a difficult thing to capture. But
because you've got Glassdoors, right, where you can rate the company, but I don't like the way Glassdoor works.
You've also got to bear in mind, companies change, and they can change quite quickly sometimes.
Yeah,
so
true.
one that was really bad, and you put them in the bronze category, in a matter of weeks, you might say, actually, you know what, they're in the gold category now.
How do you find out
vice versa
about that?
too? Well, that's the thing. You've got to almost say, look, for the last 6 months, this is what they've been doing. It's like with tech, it changes
Like
so quickly.
rolling
at the moment.
window of 6 months.
Yeah, I
maybe.
mean, in tech, every year, 2 years, there's a big swing as to where the favourites are. Same in the company, but almost getting smaller. The companies are really trying things out at the moment. So much so that you could say every 6 months they could swing either way. So difficult challenge.
It's a question for next week.
I think that is a topic for next week. So we will talk to the recruiters a bit about this subject. So thank you for highlighting this, Carl. Good subject.
Yeah, that sounds good. So we've got some questions. I raised an issue, by the way. I don't know if anyone saw while Andy was talking. I did raise an issue to say awesome repo, because you have no issue open. I haven't got much to slate. I have got a couple of constructor criticisms to make in a second. So we've got.
And there's a website on here. Have you visited the website?
Oh, I haven't
okay,
visited
actually, I'll click the link. It's just a title. So obviously that's work in progress for the website, right?
Because you've got index.html. So what you could do is, so it's index.html. So what you could do is you could just, you could use something like, just put a template. So in settings in the repo, go to setting. You can use
the Jekyll stuff.
Jekyll stuff, and it will just grab the readme.md markdown. You might have to rename it to index or something. I can't remember.
And you can pick a template to
pick a template.
basic
And just put it in. It will just style it up to be a website. You don't want the data duplicated in the markdown as well in the HTML. So that way you get to solve that problem. The other thing I was going to raise is you've got company list, and then just the file in there, but there's no extension, and it's camel cased, whereas index isn't. README has to be in capitals because that's just a standard. It's
back to that comment about consistency, right? I mean, it's a small repository, which is fantastic. I mean, the one thing I was going to say is, this isn't a code repository, right? This is just literally a documentation repository, really. And that's the beauty of open source, right? It doesn't have to be code. It can be this. I mean, you've got your own open source documentation repository as well, which is all about documenting good practices in open source. So by all means, a project like this is fantastic, but amazing, again, within such a small file, there's a couple of different things going on in the layout of things. So consistency, naming of things, extensions being used.
Raising another issue for that. The other one I was going to say was coding test community front end React Redux. Not sure what that's about. So I would probably say that maybe that's a mistake, or if not, don't put it in until it's ready, or have it in a branch until it's ready, because it just looks a bit incomplete and a bit messy, but not major.
Well, there's a remote Angular. So I'm reading the chat going on as well. We missed a couple of little things. So.
Right. Okay. Oh, there is a chat to be busy. Sorry, everyone. Andrew was talking. I was talking. We got distracted.
Yeah. Sideline us away from the project a little bit.
So what have we got? What's in the chat? So
Abazur has been mentioning it. He works as an Angular developer, which is fantastic. I mean, we've been using Angular, since AngularJS, really. I mean, gosh, it's 5-6 years of working with Angular, but obviously the latest version of Angular for the last almost 3 years now. Trying to follow it all the way through from version 2 of Angular to the current stuff, Angular 8. So yeah, hopefully you've had a good journey with Angular, and it'd be interesting, I was just to hear your views on the Angular versus React world as well sometime.
And what else? I used to do freelancing, have top rate at work, but there is a lot more competition on platforms like Upwork freelancers now. I do remote with companies, and it's awesome to this territory. Yeah, exactly. It's cool. I think it's good. Really useful.
Yes, that's the issue. What's the difference between free software? I'm not sure what the statement was that we were making at that point in time.
I missed that.
From Wozek, he said, yes, but that's the issue. What's the difference between free software?
Free software and open source. So the free software is very different, because like shareware, where you get malware and other kind of pop-ups and crap in it, is free, but open source is very different. So open source is free, as in free beer. However, that's not the goal. The goal is not free. The goal is it's community driven.
It's still licensed at the end of the day, but free software is you can use this for free. It's like a game on your app, I guess. You go to the app store, you say, oh, I'd like to play this game. It's free, and there might be some additional costs and stuff. Everyone loves the whole let's sell you stuff after you've got the free thing, but open source it's more of a community than a built piece of software you can use. So I'm trying to think. It's a number of times you get asked this question, how do you explain it best? Because
I think
open source isn't free. Open source it can still be proprietary software in effect. The license can tell you all you can do with it is literally use this and deploy it. You can't make changes to it. Even if you do make a change, you own nothing that you've changed, etc., etc.
Yeah,
the license
true, but
can
most
dictate
of them
a lot.
aren't. But most of them aren't. But you're right, it could be like that. I think. It depends on the licensing, but most of the time it's like GNU or MIT, where as long as you contribute your improvements back, I think it's the main one.
And you can still monetize open source stuff. I mean,
Red Hat's got bought for like
free software is kind of, you can download it, you can use it for free. They may have paid versions. Likewise, open source, if you go to their website, they might have free and paid for versions, but you don't have to have a free version as well. You could say, look, the free version is you go install it yourself, manage all the maintenance, everything yourself. Whereas free software is normally they've packaged it all up and they're just giving it to you for free. So there are some differences, but the things that I like about open source is certainly if you start a project from day one, you're exposing yourself to the world and you're saying, look, this is how we're building our software, these are the standards we're using, this is the quality we're building, and instantly that improves the quality of your project. You were telling me earlier today about a similar company that hadn't open source. I think it was from your conference the other week.
Yeah, my talk.
You did a talk the other day.
Cloud.
Yeah.
Google Cloud Milan had a really great question. So I was talking about why companies should open source their projects and the benefit of it, both sides, for hiring, and developers want to do a better job because their work's public. And someone in the audience asked a really good question and said that they want to open source their project, but it's taken 2 years to get the company to be happy with it and approve it, that the code isn't, the developers aren't proud of the code anymore. So now, although they're allowed to open source it, the developers don't want to, because they want to do it, they eventually want to do it, but when they've made it better. But better will never happen because they're just adding features rather than making improvements. So I said the sooner they open source it, the sooner the improvements will happen and occur, and also the community can help with that. So little and often, always, in proprietary and open source projects, and if you're going to open source it as soon as possible, and if you're not going to open source it, why not? You bloody well should. That sounds really British.
Yeah. And this is an interesting conversation we have a lot of banks at the moment as well, trying to get them to do it. And we've almost got probably the main company we work with over the edge to get them to use this stuff. So it will be interesting to see if they actually give the sort of the thumbs up, let's do this, because they're really close now. They're starting to accept it, and some of the people that we've been working with for a while have recently been promoted into much more senior jobs now, where they have more of an impact. So yeah, it's difficult, I think, with some of the long-term companies, but even there, they see the benefits. There's just that little bit of
so many
history and red tape that they've got to get around. But it's just a new generation coming through with a new way of thinking, and the world is becoming more community-based, I think, when it comes to software. So hopefully proprietary software will, I wouldn't say die a death, there probably will still be proprietary software.
But it'll be like a minority, it'll be like really small. So I think I've got one more question, and I think we're going to call it a day. I am ready for.
Well, I was going to finish off the chat, but you do your question first.
The question was on here. So you
okay.
off.
Well, yeah, I was running down the other items. So
I missed more stuff.
I don't know. You've been talking back to a lot of them. I noticed a few messages, but yeah, you got.
Yeah, you do it.
So Carl's obviously been talking about the bronze, silver, gold. Should a gold company be 100% remote? I don't think anyone will ever be 100% remote, even if they claim to it. You've got to come in for meetings. I don't think
my company's 100% remote.
Yeah, I think you can be, but even you with your own company, they come over and join you for events and stuff. You're not always apart from each other. You have opportunities to be together.
Well, I think it's good to meet.
It's an opportunity, I suppose. It's not forced. That's the point.
Yeah, it's optional. Yeah. I think it's good. I mean, ideally, I'd like it to be once a month, but at the moment, it's probably once every 3 months.
But nothing beats getting together once in a while to be face to face, have a chat like we are now. You can't have that kind of conversation over the internet so well. But yeah, 100% remote whilst people deem to be. I'm not sure you would really get that. So yeah, 80%. Yeah, that's probably that would be good enough for me. Sort of as far as 1 day a week you're in the office, 4 days a week you're at home. I mean that for me is good enough. Whilst I love the jobs where they do say, oh look, you only need to be in once a month, then that's great.
Yeah.
Scrolling down, so yeah, I used to do freelancing, top rated. Okay, great. The other thing I was going to say is I noticed Abza also has mentioned that used Angular 2. They had a version with Angular and ES5. Now, does Eddie remember this? Well, what was the other one that they were using? So that before they went to TypeScript, they offered two things. It was ES5 or ES6 really, more than ES5. And can you remember the internal language? I'm testing Eddie off the top of his head.
Internal language?
It's a language developed by Google, and they still use this on a number of their projects.
Dart. Yes, I forgot. I
so Angular 2, when it was pre-alpha, was Dart versus ES6.
Was it?
Before they went to TypeScript. So they eventually buddied up with Microsoft and said, you know what, Dart, okay, it works for our internal projects, and now I've forgotten the name of the other one. Flutter is Dart, right?
Is it?
I believe Flutter is Dart.
Those people are doing it. It's quite big, really popular.
So yes, it was certainly ES5, ES6 Angular. And I remember actually being asked around that time when the alpha was out, would I review a book someone was writing on Angular 2? And I said no, because it's still in alpha, and I've got a feeling they're going to make a significant change to it before it goes into the public production ready solution. And they said, oh no, we've spoken to Misco and the guys that build it, and they've told us it's going live in Easter. Well, guess what? Easter came by and they announced that we're going to move to TypeScript. So I was quite glad I didn't spend months reviewing a book that was being written on Angular 2 when all of a sudden it all changed.
And TypeScript is fucking awesome. Pardon my French, can I swear on the stream?
I have to admit, it took me a little while to get convinced by it. I probably spent 6 months fighting with
you for ages.
Yeah, you did chase me a fair bit.
Because it was like Java, I loved it.
At the same time, yeah, it was, yeah.
And you came from Java, you're the one who got me into Java.
I love TypeScript, but I also loved ES6. I just buddied up with ES6, ES5 and Babel at the time.
You can still use ES6 stuff.
And so it took me about 6 months to get convinced by TypeScript, but I have to say, everything I do now is TypeScript, so I'm quite happy with it.
Freaking generics.
Do you guys think company would agree with putting code-specific tests for them to help people measure their skill? No, there's another subject there. So there's a company in this building called HackerRank.
Yeah, do you know HackerRank?
So you may have come across HackerRank.
I hadn't come across. I've heard of it, but I hadn't actually used it or knew much about it until I.
So big up to HackerRank if you're watching.
And some
great stuff there.
The great stuff, but also they came and gave us a demo, and they really took the time to show it to us, talk us through it. I was really impressed. I mean, we bumped into them in the office. They're really nice. So. Big thumbs up. I like to see a nice company. And
effectively, what HackerRank are trying to do is what you're saying. Have tests that can test coding skills that are specific to what that company needs. So you can go in there, configure a test, and you can pull and drag and drop in all the questions you want to ask. The thing that I would say is that it won't attract the best people, because the best people. Well, there's two things here. Well, there's a number of things here. I can talk for hours on it.
We're going to 8:30. We're going to start off 15.
But if someone was to get 100% in that test, I would instantly not want them, because if they get 100%, there's one of two things: they either cheated, and whilst HackerRank have a lot of stuff to try and detect the cheats, or they're so academic they have no capability of thinking outside the box, because their academia is massive, but they can't think of it. So I would almost instantly say anyone that gets 80 to 100%, I would probably chuck them out the box and say I'm not interested. So these tests work negatively, and they have a different way you have to think about things. But the other thing is that I'd say that they're more geared towards the junior people, because the senior person will probably look at a test and go, you know what, it's not worth my time. I can go get a job elsewhere anyway. So I'd say tests, yes, they're useful, but it's only for a certain range of people.
Like
For the more senior people, you need to have the right people interviewing them and actually be able to understand, this person, they're technical enough, they can do the job. For a brand new junior that's just come out of university, let's say, you're more interested in what their attitudes are, what are the things they're doing. So, yeah, interesting one there. HackerRank, Carl knows HackerRank. Eddie is hungry. Yeah, we haven't eaten since like, I don't know, God, 9 hours ago.
Can't even type. Trying to type back. I can't even type.
I see. I was got Dart in there before you did as well. By the way,
I missed that. I know.
Took a minute, but yeah. Yeah. Some TypeScript love. What else have I missed in the chat?
That was a really good one.
There
was a really good question. So, what's our main argument for a company to go open? Convince somebody to convince a company to go open source. I mean, I can talk about this for an hour. So just
I have one word, and that is quality.
Yeah, quality. So the developers.
Quality is number one for me.
Developers will want to do a better job because it's going public and it's got their name against it. So naturally, straight away, it's going to be better. Then it's going to be better because you've got loads of eyes on it, reviewing it, giving suggestions, feedback. And then it's also a great hiring stream. Hiring is really hard.
It is.
Hence, you've got things like HackerRank, which is great. But if you've got contributors on your project, then I just go to the contributor, list and go, well, these are the
there are companies now that the first place that some companies now hire from, the open source companies, that is, the first place they go to hire is the contributors list. They go onto there and say, look, we're hiring now. Who's contributed to our projects? Yep, you guys, anyone looking for a job? So places are starting to see the open source world as a hiring opportunity as well. Our websites like HackerRank useful.
I was just writing juniors to midweight, right?
Yeah, I mean that's what I would say is it's that well, it almost is more the midway. It's kind of the junior to midweight to senior. It's that bracket there. The true junior, you're more interested in their attitude and their extracurricular stuff.
So important.
Because as a junior, you've got to have the right attitude. And you've also got to make sure there's someone that can be molded. They've not somehow managed to pick up something. So I say pick up like a virus, but
and you keep your viruses over there. But I think, but it's having the right attitude, right? Be someone who's always improving. That's why I think, as a developer, no matter what stage you're at, you need to put your code, your learnings on GitHub, and it doesn't have to be perfect. Because when I'm hiring people, I want to look back at their code 6 months ago, and I expect it to be shitter than their code. I expect them
to have improved. Yes. It tells a story.
If their code 6 months ago, no matter what state it is in, even if it's great, is the same as it is today, then I'm not impressed or really interested, because over the 6 months
we haven't quite got as far as reviewing the last project. I know there was one more link.
Oh, we've got one more to do.
I think it was Abuzar's one. Yeah.
Oh shit, we didn't review one. Let's do it. I thought we did. Did I not?
Yeah, there was. I know there was one more, and I was going to say, should we get the last one
was
before
that the
Mizo?
Yes,
Mizo is
the
Taban.
NG2 flat picker.
Yeah, let's look at that now. It will be the last one, so no one else share, but we will have a.
Or do share, and we won't look at it, but it will be
there.
We will
note
it
down for the future.
Yeah, exactly. We might forget, and it might need to go. So let me share my screen.
Yeah.
Cool. So my screen should be coming up now. Let's go.
Technically not a project, but I contributed to it a few days ago. Okay. Well.
Oh shit! What have I just done? I closed the project. That's a bit stupid.
Angular 2 wrapper.
Okay, yeah, if you're contemplating, you can have a look. So what's the goal here? Do you want us to maybe give some suggestions of how else you can contribute? They've got a description, they've got...
Well, it's interesting because you say it's not your project, but it doesn't say it's forked from anywhere. But it has lots of forks coming off it, so...
Oh, this is the original, I think. He gave us the link to the original, not to his one. This is the source project.
Okay.
I don't think Mizo is his account.
Possibly, okay.
They've got changelog.
Let's look at the user.
Oh, they've got changelog. I think it's manually created though.
That's a changelog.
Debug log though. Oh, I don't like this. Debug log is committed. So what I would do, I'll raise an issue, and then you can raise a pull request.
Don't need that.
What have I just done? I've gone back too far. I've gone back way too far. I've ruined this now. Damn it.
It'll be in there. Just jump back to Mio's.
Oh, here we go. So I'll raise an issue and then just delete the file in a PR and add it to the git ignore that you don't want that file in.
Yeah,
so,
git ignore. Normally I end up with a star.log one in there. So there is npm debug.log in there. Well, what was it? Oh, it's just debug.log. That's why.
Should not be committed. And
to use
git ignore. Oh yeah, I agree with Andrew. Add something like this: star.log.
It's quite rare that you have a log file that you actually want committed to a project.
I think
there's probably one time I've had to put on a directory. Actually, for this directory, logs are okay. But, yeah.
Maybe you want the blank file, but then which is still you shouldn't really have. And there's a dist.zip shouldn't be in there either. So that's another one that could go.
I don't like Safari. Are we both in Safari? We are.
What?
Oh, yeah.
Who doesn't like Safari? Oh.
I was unhappy that we're using Safari. I've gotten more and more using Safari, which is weird. I mean, things like the responsive mode are quite neat. I mean, that's the read mode, but if I go to responsive mode, it's quite good. But it's all iOS focused, I guess.
Yeah.
So that's the downside. And actually, their tools and whatnot are not too far different to Chrome. But what I would say is that Firefox, the latest Firefox browser, probably when it comes to the developer tools, starting to strip out Chrome in some respects. So, what do you use, Abuzer? I mean, I'd say at the moment, if I was to actually worry about the debug tools, I'd probably say Firefox is number one, probably Chrome, then Safari. But I use Safari mostly these days for an unknown reason. I guess I just like how slick it works. It's all the anti-aliasing as well on the text.
Yeah,
it's all built to work with an Apple computer, whereas Chrome and Firefox, it just doesn't quite look so slick on the screen.
It's true.
So yeah, look and feel these days, I'm a bit of a sucker for it.
Contributors file, I would say as well, could be added. Give people tips and help. It's got a link to CI, a badge, which is good. Those are my initial thoughts. So I've raised a couple of issues. By all means, grab them and then fix them.
Developers are Chrome names, right?
Some ideas on descriptive function names, importance of sprint planning and documentation important. So you're looking at the same at my screen. So yeah, raise an issue. This is not my project, but we're giving suggestions on this.
Needed. Is that something you're going to publish out to NPM? Because normally dist folders, etc. That's your NPM deployment. And then people that want to use it will pull it down. So I don't expect to tend to see dist and so forth folders.
Yeah, so let me just go back to Venkatesh.
But certainly that dist folder that's in there, that looks like it's the local project, so it shouldn't be there.
Yeah, definitely should go. Otherwise, it looks consistent. All the file names are hyphened, so it is consistent. I'm not going to go right into the code and have a look.
Public API, so this is a library to use. So this is built up as a library, I assume, because I've noticed the public API file in there, so it's similar to what I have for my own stuff. So the intention is to import this as a library. As I look at the source, there's a module in there, exports out two things.
Where are you looking?
I'm just looking at the source code quickly just to see how the Angular project's been built up. So yeah, declaring and exporting them, yeah, that seems fine. How are the components for the selectors written up? Component selectors ng2 flat picker. Okay, yeah. I'd be a bit concerned saying ng2. I'm not a huge fan of ng2 because it's not Angular 2. I mean, ngx I've seen used in some places, but again, I'm not a big fan of that. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I would try to come up with your own prefix perhaps rather than using ng2 there, but
I don't like the on my screen I've got a type that says object. I just don't like saying object, it's too generic. I think if you can try and be a bit more specific, that would be better. I'm going to start eating my arm soon, I'm so hungry. Hi Eddie, nice to see you live. Thanks Venkatesh, thanks for joining. And joining at the end, unfortunately we're going to call it a day in any second now.
We are finishing very soon, yeah.
And I understand the video's a bit choppy. We've been going for over an hour and a half. I know my video's a bit choppy, I need to work on that. I hear my audio though, it's freaking awesome. Actually, that just popped in my ear, that wasn't such a good idea.
Stop trying to deafen everybody.
It's the first time I actually use, I don't know if I can point this, without breaking this. Let me see if I
Well,
can switch back
there's
to the
some good
camera. I can point this back.
documentation on the project as well. As I look through some of the classes and code whilst Eddie plays with his microphone.
That sounds well dodgy.
There's some good documentation, Java doc style in there. I have to admit, I don't tend to do so much documentation in the code these days. It's useful, perhaps, if you're going to contribute it out as Swagger and publish it as Swagger or
this
something.
you can use. You can generate. I think it's like JS docs or something, or
Yeah.
comp docs or something. You can generate using those code blocks, and you can generate stuff in CI, which I actually want to do for Dashboard Hub as well. So just add it to the list of things that I need to get sorted.
But no, it's nice. I don't have anything overly negative about the code to say. I mean, there's a couple of things like this ng init here with these options. Seems like quite a lot of options available, but that's probably needed, so you can't argue with it.
Let's go.
Protected. Using protected as a modifier.
Well, protective implies it's going to get extended, and inheritance is really not. It's bad. It gets abused and it's bad. I mean, implementing an interface is different, but using extend, I think you try and use composition and try and inject in the dependency that you need. I think in the middle, like when you're crossing a road, either on one side or like it's in private, or you're on the other side, which is public. If you go protected, you're kind of in the middle of the road. You're going to get squished. That's mine.
That's fair enough. I have to say it's very rare I see a need for protected, but certainly in a library that is quite small, I'm not sure that protected makes sense. Probably should be private.
Okay, I am calling my stream there. I'm dead. I'm done.
Yep, no, that's fair enough.
Time.
I think hopefully that was an interesting stream for people. I know we've covered lots of things, we had a bit of a laugh, as we usually do.
Exactly.
And we will say as well in the future, or not too distant future, we are starting something a bit new up soon.
So more coding, I think. We're going to try and get some more coding in there, like live coding. We want you all to contribute as well. So we could do some interesting things. We used to do coding streams to make games and ask people to load features.
The old Twitch Coders account. If it's still on there, I can open it up quickly.
I'm not going to open it up because I'm calling it a day there. But it's So we want to do some more practical projects as well. Good
old Twitch Coders. There it is. We built this little game called Warp Blaster.
Yeah,
that brings back the days. It's almost a year ago since we last did it.
But I think that was really good fun. But maybe we could do some practical projects with Angular, pipeline, CI, deployment, and running through all that, and people can contribute and all the rest. So I think that's good. Venkatesh will be the first to ask questions next time, but I wish to know your priority on Angular, Vue, and React. Leave that question for next time. Don't get started. Leave that question for next time.
That's a long subject. We can talk about that for a while.
Yeah, it'd be really good. It's a really good discussion to have, and have everyone's input as well, to see different views.
But thank you for the engagement as well. Lots of people talking.
Yeah,
I'll apologise. I've been actually monitoring Eddie's chat more than mine because of having swapped to yours. So I'm just going to double check. There's nothing too much. Yeah. Okay.
Check yours. Everything
Spectre
good?
Speed's there. Wasn't? Yeah, I was a React developer until I met you, Andrew.
Oh, that's what I love to hear. Awesome. Angular.
I know that was a little while ago, but I assume that means you've gone to Angular, or maybe you went to somebody else. Maybe you've just been put off by JavaScript.
Vue I hear is good, but
I know we've got a couple of friends who are quite big on Vue. It's massive subject.
Yeah. Cool.
But thank you.
Great evening, everyone. It was awesome, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah, next Wednesday.
That's
6 or 6:30.
6:30.
6:30 again.
6:30
UK, that is.
UK time. We will be discussing with 3 recruiters.
Yep.
Bridging the gap between developers and recruiters, looking at job descriptions and looking at some CVs and suggestions on that. So if you want us to review your CVs, send it in.
Even not just CVs, even if there are job descriptions you've seen on the internet, share us a link to those.
Yeah.
We're not going to get through every single one, perhaps, if there's lots that come in, but share them all. If you say, I saw this job description, I was confused by it, or I thought it was wrong. What's your thoughts? Share them. We will try to critique them constructively.
I think it'd be good. You get to see our review as well as the recruiter reviews, because they sit between the companies and the developers a lot of the time.
And they have a very different opinion when they get in CVs and job descriptions from clients or prospective candidates. They have a very different opinion to us as people that probably are recruiting people and maybe have even been involved in helping write the job descriptions. Although, to be fair, it tends to be more the actually being told this is the job description we put out. We go find someone for it when it comes to us, but yeah.
And Abuzir, I'm not going to answer that now. We're working on React in the future. I've worked on React in the past and still have nightmares over it. That's a different discussion.
It
Thank you
depends
very
on the
much,
project,
everyone.
But anyway, yeah. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye. Catch you next week. Got some videos coming out between now and then there as well. So if you haven't subscribed.
Yes, please do subscribe. We're very keen on. Well, certainly I need to build my profile up more. Eddie's okay. So if you're on Eddie's, just move to me. I've still got to hit that 100 mark to get my own name.
Yes, you need 100. Subscribe to Andrew's, and we're going to get some more videos out. We went to so many events. We went to City FinTech JS, FinJS, and we had some chats with NPM.
The NPM guys were there.
Genesis, their lead developer was a woman. She was talking about getting other women into tech and stuff. So we're going to get some videos.
JS Scrambler as well, who tried to protect JavaScript on the front end. Interesting stuff. Yeah.
Yes, it should be good. Cool. Okay. Calling that a day. Thanks everyone. Bye. Stop stream. Yes.